Good morning, everybody. Just wanted to give you guys an update on what's going on with the zoo. There's Crazy Daisy, already back to her normal self. So surgery day it was supposed to be Daisy and Marigold, was this past Wednesday. Daisy was a very good girl, and we got her in her carrier, and she got her surgery successfully. So Miss Daisy is now spayed. Miss Marigold, on the other hand, decided that she was going to have absolutely no part of getting in a cat carrier. And I spent roughly 2.5 hours chasing her all over the house, in and out of furniture. I actually hurt my back because I had to move couches, I had to move chairs, I had to move the dresser. At one point I had to move the refrigerator, which thankfully is on wheels. It was actually harder to move the couch than it was to move the refrigerator. Because anything she could go behind or under to get away from me, she did. Alright, guys. Everybody else here is losing their mind. I'm going to hold my little coffee cup before they do that. What are you monkeys doing? Who's that? That's, I think, Sylvester is back there. Picking on each other. So there's, Miss Finn. It's Fufu. He's looking out the window there. And Gus Gus is on the round tree below him. And you can't really see him, but Chunk is over in the bed. And then inside the cube there, we've got a stockpile. That is where, for a while, it was Mina, Lucy, and Marigold were all piled in there. Now I think it's only Lucy and Marigold. And then Daisy and Mina were just wrestling a minute ago. I'm not sure where they went. But anyhow, so I had to chase Marigold all over the house. And I finally had to give up because she went up inside my recliner. Somehow she got, like, all the way up inside the chair. And there was no way I was going to get her. So, after, like I said, about 2.5 hours of chasing her, I finally had to give up. I started at like 5:30 in the morning. And by 8 o'clock, I still couldn't do it. So, I had to give up on Marigold. So Marigold is not spayed yet. But at least Daisy was a good girl. And she went into her carrier. And she had her surgery. Everything is fine, right, Miss Daisy? So she took her pain medicine like a good girl. They sent me home with some pain medicine, anti-inflammatory kind of stuff. The anti-inflammatory, yeah, I said that right. I'm still half asleep. And we took care of all that. So Daisy is officially spayed. Yay! She was a very good girl. She was very well behaved. She also cost me a pretty penny, so maybe it's a good idea that Marigold evaded me, because it would have been twice as much had I caught Marigold too. So, perhaps it was a blessing in disguise. There's Gus Gus. Hello, Gus Gus. You guys are nuts. So, she is doing fine. She's back to being Crazy Daisy. What are you doing, Sylvester? Now, who just came out of there? Was that Miss Lucy? Yeah, that's Miss Lucy. She's doing fine, too. And then over here we have Mr. Will, who is still doing okay. So Mr. Will had his follow-up. He was back at the doctor last Thursday. It was the Thursday before Daisy's surgery. Daisy's surgery was on a Wednesday of last week. The week prior, on Thursday, I dropped Will off at lunchtime and then went back and picked him up after work. And that worked out a little bit better because then I didn't miss any time off of work, and it gave the doctor plenty of time to run all the tests that they wanted to run on him. So after fighting to get the antibiotic that they gave him down his throat for the week, we were barely successful, but we did get most of it down his throat. And we got his eardrops in, and he's still on prednisone. But the good news is the diarrhea stopped. So he's got a normal BM now. So that seemed to stop the problem of whatever was going on in his stomach. And his appetite increased. He gained a whole pound. So he did very good there. And then, because he was there for a longer period of time, they were able to do the more extensive and expensive blood work. And his white blood cell count was still high, but it did come down. So it is responding to the antibiotics, which is good. And while they had him there, since they had him there for so long, they were actually able to get a urine sample. Which was very good that they did, because it turns out that he not only has a bladder infection as well, but he also had traces of blood in his urine, which is not good because that indicates kidney problems. So for right now, the other things present in the urine sample suggested a kidney infection. So not necessarily disease, not necessarily failure, but at least infection. So the plan is we are treating him with a different antibiotic for a UTI, basically, and bladder infection. And this kind, he was able to give him an injection, so I don't have to wrestle him every day to shove it down his throat. And then he's on the prednisone, but instead of every morning, now the prednisone is every other morning. So he's on every other day. That was my dryer that just shut off. And there's Miss Marigold, you stubborn hag that wouldn't let me catch you. At least she didn't go crazy and tear me to pieces like Gus did when it was his turn. There's Lucy's. Lucy, you're so silly. This is the way she lays down. She's just like her Uncle Leo. So one of the cats I had named Leo, it was her uncle, actually. Or wait, he might be actually, no, he's an uncle, definitely, or a cousin anyway. But he used to lay the same way, and he still does. He's somebody that my sister adopted him, where he'd sit with his front legs tucked under, and his back legs sprawled straight out with his tail down the middle. That's how he used to rest, too. And Lucy does the same thing. I just think it's funny. And that's like 6 years difference between the two of them. And she lays the same way. So it's just funny how family traits come around again. Whoop, this is my finger, sorry. But, so turns out old Willow here had not only something kind of infection going on gastrointestinal-wise, which the first antibiotic cleared up, but also turns out he's got a bladder infection and something with his kidneys. So we have him on the prednisone every other day now, and then he gave him a injection antibiotic that we're hoping is going to help. So he goes back to the doctor on Thursday of this coming week, and we're going to do the same thing, where I'll drop him off, and then I'll pick him up later. And that works out good, because that'll give them plenty of time. If they have to, they'll give him a round of fluids. And then when they give him a round of fluids, he'll have to pee. And then they'll be able to get the urine sample. Originally, back when I first took him to the doctor, his bladder was completely empty. So there was no way to get a urine sample from him. So the second time when I dropped him off, that was part of the reason that he was staying there for 4 hours during the day, is that at some point we knew his bladder would be full enough to get a sample. So I'm glad we did that, because then we knew the other underlying issue that was going on. So the combination of the two is most likely why he dropped so much weight, between the infection that was going on in his digestive system and his kidneys. The poor thing was just a massive infection. Not sure where he could have got that from. Not sure, because nobody else is sick. Nobody else has had a reaction. He does not go outside, so it's not like he could have gotten into something. I don't have anything out here because of all the other monsters and their ability to get into everything. So I don't keep cleaners out in the open. You know, there's no chemicals out in the open. Everything is behind cabinets and closed doors and closets, because of all these monsters. Right, Sylvester? Because of monsters like you, who get in there and try to eat anything because you're silly. So we're not sure what's going on. But we're hoping that everything has just been some kind of a freak incident. Stomach-wise, he is doing great now. He's gaining weight. He's still skinny. He's always been skinny, but he does not feel like just a bag of bones anymore. He's actually got some muscle mass back, which is wonderful. So we're going to hope he continues the trend. Like I said, between the original visit and the visit a couple of weeks ago, the follow-up, he had gained a whole pound. So that's fantastic. And of course, with the prednisone, his appetite's pretty good. So he's eating a lot. Of course, the vet provided a special food from Science Diet that is supposed to be good for nutrition. And of course, Willow will have none of it. Maybe it tastes bad. I don't know. But he was like, no way, no thank you. And he wouldn't touch it. So I'm like, okay, well, the super expensive veterinary recommended Science Diet was completely rejected. So I went and found the next best thing. And I found a few cans of, I tried a couple of different things, and it turned out, hello, Sylvester, extreme close-up. I tried a couple of different things, and there was a Purina Pro Plan that had a lot of protein and vitamins and whatever in it, that had some of the things that the Science Diet had. In the chicken flavor. I got a couple of chicken ones and a couple of tuna ones. And he was not fond of the tuna flavor, but he loved the chicken one. So I'm like, okay, fantastic. So if you won't eat the vet stuff, at least the Purina Pro Plan. It's hard for me to speak this morning, I guess, because I haven't slept well. At least that had some of the ingredients. Not a whole lot of them, but some of the vitamins and minerals and whatnot. So I figure, well, that's the next best thing. And his doctor seemed happy with that. He's like, whatever you can get down his throat, basically. And to get his prednisone down his throat, I found the Blue Buffalo makes a puree. It's the Tastefuls. It's like them squeezy pouch kind of things. So it's like a puree, a paste. Somebody just took off down the hallway. Okay. Sorry about the edit. Everybody that took off down the hallway, then I heard a round of yelling and hissing beginning, so somebody got upset down there. So I had to temporarily stop the video and go break up a fight before it got serious. So everybody is okay. They just had a moment. And everybody had their issues. So, but back to what I was saying about the puree, the Blue Buffalo puree. It's pretty good. It's a little bit thicker than like some of the other lickable things. So it works out good, because what I can do is crush because he gets half a pill of prednisone every other day, is what Willow is taking. So I can crush it up into a fine powder and water it down just a little bit, and then I mix it in with that puree, and he doesn't even taste it. And I can get all of it down his throat that way. So that works out good. And it's also, by default, it's high in protein. And it's pretty good for them. So, at least that's good. So, we were able to get his medicine down there. So now, hopefully, when he goes back to the doctor this coming week, we'll know for sure what's going on with the bladder infection, kidney infection, situation. And hopefully he doesn't have actual kidney disease. If he has that, then that's going to be a whole other ballgame. But we won't really know until we just monitor it and see what happens when he stops all the medicine. If it goes back right to the way it was, then it might be something more serious. For a while there, I was worried that he might have some kind of cancer because he dropped so much weight so fast. But when they did the full scan blood work, other things that they usually see when there's cancer were not present in him. So that part is good. The part that's got me worried is whether or not the kidneys are damaged. You know, if his kidneys are not going to function normally, then that's going to be bad news. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Hopefully he will be fine and everything will be okay. And we'll see. Because if he's gonna, if it is kidney disease and he actually goes into what they call renal failure, which is kidney failure, then that's it. You know, there's nothing you can do about that. But hopefully we won't have that. Hopefully he just had a nasty infection for some reason and he's on the mend now. So that's what we're going to hope for, right, Fufu? Is Fufu Finny? And there's Gus Gus and Chunky Monkey. And I think that's Mina and Lucy and Marigold are all crammed in there. And that is pretty much that. So, that's what's been going on. It's been back and forth to doctors. Doctors. Somebody out there is already running chainsaws, and we had a couple of days. We did not have all those terrible storms, so I'm hoping all you guys out there that had to deal with those terrible severe weather outbreaks are okay. Oh, there's Miss Lucy. But here we didn't get any of that. We got a little bit of gusty wind and a couple of small-time thunderstorms, nothing major. A little bit of heavy rain, but nothing horrible. Just your typical late spring kind of stormy weather. But the wind, there was some wind gusts that came during the night, and it was also pretty windy yesterday, even though it was clear. It was a beautiful day yesterday. Sunshine and everything, but it was very windy. So now this morning, since pretty much it's almost 9 o'clock here, I'm on the East Coast. Pretty much since about 7:15, 7:30 this morning, I've been hearing chainsaws. So I am assuming somebody had tree limb damage somewhere from the wind gusts that came through. And also from the heavy rain that happens. Of course, you know how that is. You get a lot of heavy rain, the soil gets really wet, and then you get wind gusts. And if you got a tree that's anywhere near toppling over, that's going to make it that much easier for it to just uproot itself and come toppling over. So, it's another reason to avoid certain trees like maples, Bradford pears. Bradford pears are notorious for splitting. They break so easily. And then maple trees are beautiful, but the roots are not very deep. The roots remain relatively shallow. And the problem you get from that is if you do get a bad storm, they will go over fairly easily compared to an oak. So far so good. I have, in my yard, it's mostly white oak. The one big tree in my front yard is a red oak tree. So the roots are strong and deep, which is good. That makes it a little less likely to tip over, so to speak, if you get a bad windstorm. Not that it's impossible, but it doesn't happen as easily as it does with some of the other types of trees. So, but yeah, it seems like the middle of the country here got walloped. From what I was seeing on the news, people out in Missouri, and around that area there just had horrible tornadoes and terrible storms. And so I hope anybody who's out there who was part of that, you guys are going to be okay. But we were lucky. We didn't have much going on. So there was apparently some damage from the wind, though, because like I said, I've heard a lot of chainsaws this morning. So, but other than that, everybody is good. So overall, we lucked out. Everyone here is in reasonable health. Willow seems to be on the mend, as far as I can tell, anyway. He's back to his normal self. He's eating, which is good. He seems like he's back to his usual chill will, happy self. So I'm hoping when he goes back to the doctor this week, they'll find out that everything is cleared up. And then Chunk is doing pretty good. Kind of as a default. Of course, when I mix the prednisone in Willow's food, I have to make sure nobody else eats it, because I don't want everybody else all jacked up on steroids. They're crazy enough. But the one cat I do let, if there's anything left over, I let Chunk have it, because he was on prednisone for months when he had all the problems with his nose and his eye when he was younger. So I know it's not going to hurt him. If anything, it might help clear his eye up, because he's been having some trouble again. I think it's allergy related, though, because I notice if I have the window open and it's extremely windy, it's nice to feel the breeze come through. But then I notice the next morning, Chunk's eye is really bad and Alex is coughing a lot. So I think they have allergies just like I do. So I'll try to keep that in mind. And keep them away from the wind if I can, so that they don't get too uncomfortable. But everybody else is doing okay. Everyone else has disappeared. So it must be nappy time. I know there's a bunch of them piled in there. And that's Miss Lucy there. And Chunk is sleeping back in his bed over there again. So, everything is okay, though. So, can't complain, right? I'm just glad everybody responded to the medicines and surgeries and all that is good. And then I will try Marigold again in a few weeks. There's no sense in trying too soon, because she's not going to trust me again for a while now. And then after that is Lucy and Mina. But that's going to have to wait a little bit anyway, because all of the stuff that's going on with Willow, that kind of came out of the fund for Lucy and Mina's surgery. So, Lucy and Mina has escaped surgery yet again for a little while, because making sure Willow gets better is a little more important at the moment. So we will concentrate on that, and then we'll go back to saving up for Mina and Lucy. It makes it a lot easier when they don't go outside, and there's, nobody, there are no males in the house that are not neutered. Everybody is neutered, so as long as they stay in the house, they're not in danger of making more kittens. So we're all good. Right, Gus Gus? What you doing, buddy? So they'll have to wait a little bit longer. Instead of doing them in June, I'm probably going to have to wait till July or August. Just because Willow has been an expensive patient. There's been a lot of things happening. But it'll be okay. We'll make it work. And we'll see where we go from there. And there's Miss Phoebe. Hi, Phoebe. She's the only one that still goes outside. Everybody else is indoor only, except Miss Phoebe. She was born outside, so she gets extremely restless if she's kept inside. She tolerates it in the wintertime when it's cold, but once it gets nice out, if she can't go outside, she gets destructive. So rather than have her rip up my carpet and rip holes in the wall, I just continue to let her out. Right, honey? Are you hungry again? Did you come back for second breakfast? Okay. Well, I better go and make sure she gets second breakfast. But that was pretty much it. So I just wanted to give you guys an update. And I hope you all are doing okay. And I hope you have a good week to come. And I'll try to give you another update after Willow's other surgery. Well, there's Mr. Alex. And there's Mr. Willow. You can see he doesn't look quite so bony. He's got a little bit of meat on him again, which is good. Oh, Alex's ear is itchy. Do you need eardrops too, honey bunny? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know your allergies are bothering you. Okay, here's Crazy Daisy. Daisy looks unusually skinny because her belly is shaved, so she looks kind of funny, but she's good. All right, guys. We will see you later. We hope everybody has a good week. And everybody behave themselves. And have fun. Okay, we'll see you later.